This is Dr. Lawler dictating. First case is Mr. Stan Cottrell, dated December 27, 1985. History, patient injured his back while performing the marathon run across China. The history also indicates that he's had continued back pain intermittently since that time. Impression, broken back 2 places, pars interarticularis bilaterally at the L3 level, presumed to have occurred during the marathon run in China.
Let me put it like this. I know that if I don't get there, somebody is going to be mad. There may even be people go to jail. I don't know. It may even be me. But I know that I cannot turn back now. That blame it stupid mess. I know I'm acting crazy. And today I'll begin a 3,000-mile run, which will take me already on the wall, will take me to Beijing, and I will go on to Canton.
Okay, Stan, relax a whole bunch and just talk about what the wall is like. What it's
the wall is absolutely awesome. There is nothing in the world that can prepare you.
No, relax a whole bunch. Don't you're talking like you're talking to a big audience. Talk to me.
All right.
Okay. Tell me you're freezing. Talk like that. And tell me.
Right now I'm freezing. It is so
Okay, we
cold.
must tell this from Stan's point of view. He is experiencing much pain. He is undergoing many hardships, both physically and mentally. All I want is a film that is not boring.
他所有他希望的就是这个影片要吸引人，别烦人。Go on, go on.
Yeah, it's important to understand that this is not a travel film.
If you ever just really wanted something so bad, and you just hoped and you believed and just longed for something so long, then all of a sudden one day it's just reality. Well, in my life, on this very day, a very special dream right now is becoming reality. Tomorrow will be.
He's run too long.
Oh boy, I have some butterflies in my stomach. The real trick is trying to get these butterflies to fly in formation by just joking around with everybody. But like the Chinese say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Today we are very happy to have the famous runner, Mr. Stan Cottrell, to start his great friendship run from the Great Wall in Beijing to Guangzhou. It is a very significant event. It will surely help to promote the friendship and the cooperation between China and the United States.
All of my life, I've been reaching for something, reaching for goals that in the eyes of the world has been unattainable. And people have told me over and over and over, you can't. And it's like reaching for the sun. Just tell me that I can't get a hold of the end of the rainbow. You better put your seatbelts on and sit back in your chair, because I ain't gonna let loose until I've got my arms firmly around at the end of that rainbow. I wanted something more than just knowing that I was going to get a paycheck and every 2 weeks and someone would give it to me, and then if I worked hard I would get a week's vacation, and then after 5 years I'd get 2 weeks vacation. There had to be more than that for Stan Cottrell. Woo, Lordy! This is a long way from Kentucky. Cub Run, Kentucky. That's where I graduated from high school, Cub Run, Kentucky. close to Dog Creek, Bear Waller, Zero, Lost Hope, No Hope, Little Hope, Peony, and now here I am in Tiananmen Square. Oh yeah. Hello everybody. I was just thinking, after all these years I'm in China, and I look around and millions of bicycles, and here are these giant pictures of Chairman Mao, and I look at all these people and I think, golly, all these people are communist. How in the world can communists be so friendly? But I stop, and when I find out the real facts, it's like in our country, not everybody's a Democrat, not everybody's a Republican. We got a vast majority that's just nothing. And I come to find out that only 1 in 30 people in China are actually communists. Yes, oh, it's wonderful. So many kind people, very nice. Oh, you speak English, you study? You learned English in school?
Yes.
Good. You speak well. What is your name?
My name is Wang Hongye.
What is it?
Wang Hongye.
Wang Hongye.
Yes.
Oh, good. My name is Stan. I am running to Guangzhou.
Guangzhou.
Yes, all the way from the Great Wall to Guangzhou. 3,000 kilometers. Of course, here it is, day one. I've still got 30 miles to go. I mean, still, we've got 50-some days ahead of me. And I know that I'm going to go through a lot of behavior changes. And I don't mind telling you, I was a little bit frightened this morning. Just when I woke up, just inside, just scared.
You called me during the middle of the night.
Yeah, I was having a crazy dream. Yeah. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this run. I mean, bottom line is I'm out of shape. Normally, to do 2,000 miles, 40 miles a day, you've got a background of just hundreds of miles of just pounding the pavement, 20 miles a day type running. The only working out I've got has been with my finger punching a telephone. And I don't mind telling you, I'm concerned. Another one of my problems, as usual, is money. To run across China ain't cheap. Back home, my friends are still trying to raise the money that the Chinese Sports Association wants if I'm going to finish this run. I have no choice. Everything I've worked toward for 4 years will be wasted if anything shuts us down. Everything's at stake. Not only my house and my job, but even my marriage. I've had to leave my wife and my children to do something that might turn out to be an adventure, but it also might turn out to be a disaster too. But every day is a new experience. It just keeps you going on. Who am I going to meet today? What's going to happen this day? What's around the next bend? It's wild. I can't think of any other country in the world that's like China. In fact, it's like visiting another planet, if you want to know the truth. When you take into consideration the sights and the sounds and the smells and the marketplaces and the villages, it's enough to knock your head loose. As our run is being hosted by the China Sports Association and most of the film crew are Chinese, we're having the opportunity to see a China that most Westerners don't. In fact, even the film crew says, we didn't know things like this even existed in China. It's not quite as quaint and as nice as they want you to believe. The tourists see a sort of cutesy China, but this is another China.
Ah, yes, dear friends. Come Come on, everybody, step right up, huh? This is the real Laozhong rat poison. The real Laozhong rat poison kills as many rats as you see here. All kinds of rats, big or small, huh? This is the original Laozhong, not the fake one. Beware of cheap imitations. Even in the United States, they have Laozhong. The real Laozhong, not the fake stuff. Laozhong is world famous. As you can see, film crews come from far away just to take my picture. The rats don't even have to eat it. It kills all rats, big or small, instantly. Huh? They die merely by smelling it, merely by looking at it, let alone eating it. Don't let rats overrun your house. They make noise under your bed and scare the hell out of your wife. Laozhong is safe and effective, and it might as well be free because it'll cost you more if you don't use it. If you can't catch a tiny little insignificant mouse with Laozhong, I personally guarantee you a speedy refund without any hassle if you aren't completely satisfied. Just gaze upon this table full of dead rats. Irrefutable proof that Laozhong works miracles. Huh? Seeing is believing. Huh? Laozhong rat poison is so effective, the rats just can't escape.
All around this region, they know that Laozhong is the
rat expert
of the killing rats.
Do they have a lot of rat epidemics that he has to come in?
他问这个地方是不是老有闹鼠害的时候？
那可多了，我们都吃娃娃拉的，那黄金年都是家的吃娃娃斗的，大的小的我们成家产买。
When there's a disaster, he uses the carrots to bring the dead rats out to the village.
Oh, he uses carriages to bring the dead rats out?
Yes.
You are very effective at what you do.
他说你
I've seen everything. An outdoor dentist office. Did you pull all these teeth?
他说这些是不是都是你拔的？
大多数都是我拔的。
The most of them is from him.
Boy, this is quite an advertisement so people can come up and see all the teeth he's pulled. I don't see anything he pulls the teeth with. What does he do?
他说他只看见药，没看见工具，就是那些器械。所以他说问你这些药干什么的？你有器械没有？
有器械我都是用。
Does he give them a shot? Or is he
拔牙
just...
就用这一个小铁棍就可以了，一拔牙一上来一照就掉了。
Oh, he just used this instrument to get a tooth off.
Did he go to school? Did he go to a dental school?
你受过专门训练没有？进过学校没有？
没有进过学校，那是祖传的。
Oh, he learns it from his family.
Learned it from his family.
你的父亲、你的祖父都做这个。
Concentration. Very important word. You wouldn't think it'd take that much concentration just to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it doesn't for the first few hundred miles. But we're talking about several million footsteps. I think 5 words can sum up how I'm feeling right now. My feet are killing me. I'm running on a lot of rocky roads, and I'm stepping on these sharp rocks, and it causes my feet to bruise. It's called a stone bruise. Every step that I take, there's just intense pain. It's just like needles just sticking up in the bottom of your feet. Running long distances is really more mental than physical. Your mind has to get outside the pain, and your whole day is spent looking at rocks. At the same time you're doing that, you're fighting to keep from going crazy, keep your mind balanced. Because most of the time you're completely alone with yourself, alone with your mind and your body. I'm not always an easy person to live with. Many people have asked me, why do you do this to yourself? This is a goal that I had some 5 years ago. It's literally become a love affair. It just all depends on how goal-oriented that you are. When I was a kid, one of my favorite commercials was when they fired puffed rice out of a cannon. Well, in China, I was right in the same situation. I was in a little village where a man was making puffed rice with this incredible contraption. It really turned out to be hilarious because Mickey had the man keep the machine over the fire a little bit too long, and the machine built up so much pressure it blew out the back of the bag. Everybody jumped back. They couldn't believe it. Here was Mickey just laying on the ground, just screaming like a hyena. All right, that's a little bit different than what we used to do. All right. We were allowed to film a group that was equivalent of our National Guard. These young men serve 1 month out of every year. Altogether, this gives China the largest standing army in the world, almost 3 million troops. We stumbled into a country Chinese wedding. We got to film the ceremony for these young newlyweds, and I tell you, it was the shortest ceremony you ever saw in your life. All they do is bow to each other, and that's it. They're married.
I hope they construe that 2 blonde foreigners coming to their wedding might mean we're giving luck.
We're giving them that big bag of puffed wheat.
Yeah.
Puffed rice.
Enormous bags. We hope you like soft rice.
Yes. Don't open it here.
You picture back home giving someone several boxes of Rice Krispies.
I know it.
That's mind-boggling. It looks like they put pictures of children all over this is the room for the first night, and there's pictures of children all over it.
Couldn't you see taking your wife and when you got married the first night having pictures of babies all over where you spend your honeymoon? Well, I hope this couple has one nice healthy baby. That's all they're allowed. They penalize you for having 2 children. And then, I don't know what they do if you have 3. But you know, it's interesting. Every time that I talk to somebody, do you have children? Yes. I'll say, how many? Oh, 1. Just 1 child.
Very good. Good. Zai-Chen.
Near to where the wedding was being held, we saw a place where coffins were being made. But the villagers said that if we filmed that right after filming the wedding, we'd bring bad luck onto the newlyweds. So we went on and filmed some other coffins that we found down the road. You find these tombs everywhere. I was told that during the Cultural Revolution, they needed more room for crops, so a lot of grave markers were destroyed. Never will forget it. I was running in Atlanta, and I passed by a restaurant, and it was the Great Wall Restaurant. I said, Great Wall? And something clicked, and I said, why not run across the Great Wall of China or do something really, really way out like that? Before I knew it, a year had gone by, 2 years, even 3 years. I'd contacted Chinese officials, our United States government, the State Department, the executive branch, the Congress, the Senate. Well, in the meantime, I did numerous point-to-point runs in the United States, did them for charitable organizations, even went to Europe and did a 12-country run, started in Edinburgh, Scotland, finished at the Rock of Gibraltar, and have run across the Dominican Republic a couple of times. The last time I ran around the island of Jamaica, and still working on China, Oh my gosh. Rat man. Boo-ha. They certainly wouldn't know what to do with this at Kmart. Yeah, this is, to me, you know, I guess I'm just used to refrigeration, you know what I mean, and all that. And then, quite fresh. Yeah, you can tell it's been freshly killed. And back home, look at that big old pig's knuckle there. And they got Pickles' pig knuckle. They use everything in the hog but the squeal.
Well, I'm saying I will frequently find many problems Stan is having, maybe with his feet or whatnot, but the crew will be unaware of this because they don't understand the English. Like, for instance, did y'all know that Stan has right now, he has a stress fracture on his foot. A little bone is broken in his foot right now, for instance.
See, what I do is I cut myself an opening. That gives myself some room. China is cold, and then coupled with all of this, my body weight is at a critical factor right now. I cannot afford to lose any more weight than where I'm at. And standing still, because of my low body weight, makes me just shake just that much quicker. I have to get coats around me. And when I'm running, the sweat underneath me, it's okay, but I can stand still for 15 or 20 seconds and I just start freezing. And I'll just go just like this. And that scares me. Who likes to admit that they wonder if they're not 2 bricks short of a full load for taking this project on? When you take into consideration the road conditions are worse than you thought, the roads are uneven, they're rocky, they're sloped, and there's no shoulder, and you go through 40 miles a day like this, then you have trucks full of pigs that go zooming by you like a bat out of hell, and they get real close to you, and you're just so tense all day long, and these horns that blaring and they non-stop and they never let up. If there's any one thing that's a killer out here on these roads in China, I've run through so many dusty dirt roads. It's picturesque, but when you're out here running them and these trucks are going by, the lungs can't clear the dirt out of your body fast enough. And I can't get any momentum going, no more than a kilometer, and you have to stop and walk and just continue to try to get rid of it. I look for paths across fields, anything I can do just to get off of the road, just shortcuts, just to get a little bit of fresh air to breathe. The dust is a stopper.
What's wrong, Stan?
What is it? Oh, I got a blister as big as a horse's fanny. You're gonna have to give me a needle and get somebody to get me a match.
Now, Mr. Duty.
Crap.
What's wrong with you?
Cake, and then I'm gonna get back on the road and I'm gonna run my butt off today.
Yes.
I haven't got much of a butt, but I'm gonna run it off.
Really?
Yeah. Thank you. It's what's wrong is I've got a knot in my stomach right now. I don't know. As careful as I'm being over food, and then for about 4 hours now, this thing's just been knotted up just like a ball. It's just something I've ate, and it just won't go away. I never thought I'd ever get to the point that I'd be as concerned about what went into my body as I am this day. Water, for instance, it's hard to even find water that's even fit for human consumption. Even the Chinese have a difficult time with the water. They have to boil it and then even strain it. And the type of foods that I need, high complex carbohydrates, it's just virtually impossible to get those type of foods. It's very greasy, and we've got Grace, my interpreter, and just a sweetheart from a China Sports Service company. She's doing the very best that she knows how, but even at her very best is still just mediocre when it comes to a runner and a runner's needs. And boy, I'll never forget that one night. I was in a little street restaurant, a little back tucked away place, and they had what looked like chili to me. It was till I saw the cages. And everywhere all around, here was just puppy meat. And the Chinese were saying, it will keep you warm. It will keep you warm in the winter. And I have to admit, I just couldn't handle that one. Running through the hundreds of Chinese villages, towns, hamlets, whatever you want to call them, the cities, is one of the most mind-blowing experiences that I could ever imagine in my entire life. The thousands of people, literally thousands and thousands of people, have come out of the countryside, dropped their work and everything just to come to watch the American run through the city. My adrenaline starts pumping. Sometimes I'm just absolutely drained, and I think, oh gosh, all I want to do is just get to wherever we're staying tonight. And yet the adrenaline starts pumping, and before I know it, I'm just flying through, breaking every rule in the book. They act like I'm the president, the Pope, or Deng Xiaoping. And all this applause, all the security people watching after me. This is a historic event. There's no two ways about it. It was a real fight. It's taken me almost 4 years. I know pride's a sin, But I don't mind telling you, I'm happier than a new rooster in a hen house at this point. Thank you all very much for coming out to see me. This is wonderful, a wonderful way to start the day off. God bless you and thank you. And I'll be running through your city in just a few minutes, and I hope you can come out.
The Chinese and their response to me, and the warmth and the genuineness of the people, I love it. It keeps me going.
I've been told over and over and over that there's two Chinas, and that's the truth. There's the city China, and then you have the countryside China. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, are the two worlds apart. I'd look at all these crowds in town and I'd think, you know, this is just a drop in the bucket. There's 10 times as many people out in the boonies, and those peasants are the ones the government has to keep satisfied. Now, the cities are one thing, but when you really come down to it, the peasants are what China's all about.
It's an humbling effect that they would want to turn out to see me, and yet I want to give them a lasting positive impression, because I found out that I'm the first foreigner, the first Caucasian that these people have literally ever seen.
Now. All right. That's called giving me 5. Let's do it again. Yay! Very good.
It's everywhere I go. And I mean, everywhere. It seems like I draw an audience. They're all waiting to see what the Wagwarin is going to do. Wagwarin is a term that goes beyond foreigner. It almost has a derogatory effect, but I don't even really worry about that, and because after a while you get used to it. I never in my wildest imaginations would I've ever believed that I would have got used to having 1,000 people standing around me at all times. Every time I go to take a pee, it doesn't matter. If I go shopping, if I go out wandering around at night, I've got a crowd. I mean, they're staring through the windows everywhere.
Step up, folks. Don't miss it. You're going to see a foreigner right here. Live action. I walk, I talk. I drink, I chew, I smile. Do all kinds of things.
I continue to have this recurring feeling that they might arrest me at any second for blowing it over something that I didn't know that was wrong. You keep hearing these horror stories. I know they just don't jail foreigners for nothing, but I can't second guess a culture that is 180 degrees different from anything that I've ever known. I've heard if they want to get rid of you, they just say you're a spy or something weird like that and expel you from the country.
I can be of any assistance to you, clearing out the way, getting the buses going. If the Chinese security needs me, I'm available. If the Army needs me, I'm available for advice, anything. I've been through many battles out here. Oh, yes. Yes. You're a good man. Yes. How about a hug? Okay. How about a hug? Oh. Very good. Right away. Go. Go.
That was so funny.
Yeah, all the Chinese around there just, most of them hadn't seen a foreigner.
And had never seen a foreigner, and here I am, and I don't know how. Normally you seeing everything that's out in front of you. And I think I looked over to the right. There was something going on out in the field. And Mickey, I just went, bam, and I hit that telephone pole, and here's all these people watching. I did about 3 spins around and went on. And you know that 50 or 60 Chinese people are thinking, is that the way Americans run across China? And the telephone poles. We're 12,000 miles apart in more ways than one. We're having communication problems, of course, but it's literally more than just the language barrier. We have great translators, but when you get down to it, the Chinese, they're famous for being tough negotiators. And even with the very best translators, Chinese logic seems to work differently than ours. It's hard to explain. 4,000 years of difference. It's 4,000 years of programming versus 200 years of programming in America.
Yes, just the same thing. He said just use the money to buy equipment, not for the fee for all the people's work. I asked them to ask his to go with you to change the check in Bank of China to Beijing Film Studio. Otherwise, their leaders, their boss, won't allow them to shoot. Go with the stand.
Where? How far is that?
他问多远啊？
不远，不远。
Not very far.
We will go.
Maybe only
but
15 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. I've got the check here.
Yes, they will guarantee that they will try their best to make the film success.
That everything's okay.
搞得什么样更好？
That doesn't mean we might still have some problems, but right now everything's okay.
Every problem can be solved. No worry.
The run is symbolic of a form of communication. There's something unexplainable that makes me want to communicate to everybody, and I do mean everybody. When I'm running past seas of people, I think it says, I want to trust you, and I want you to know that you can trust me in return. To me, trust is the ultimate goal of this long friendship run. It means I can run through a crowd, and I can reach out and I can hug a child, or I can shake hands with an older person, and there's no fear. I don't have to worry about somebody sticking a knife in me, or someone taking a gun to me, or creating an international disaster. And as I run through China, I have that feeling of mutual trust.
When you meet so many people, what about your feeling?
I have many beautiful memories of many beautiful people in China that will always be in my heart.
Memories like faces of people that would just literally give you the shirt off of their back. And I never will forget this. One day I ran through a village, and I was just covered with mud from head to toe, and this old woman just came up and just wanted to wash my clothes. Such a beautiful gesture. And I'll never forget this one young man that had won a medal in a championship in his province, and he gave me his championship medal, and it's so touching.
真美友好万岁 Okay. And there's some English.
You know, running must be contagious, because the running bug seems to be alive and well in China. In many of the towns I've run through, bunches and bunches of students will join me for a while. I think a lot of it is, well, they're supposed to be practicing their English. The funny thing I find out is they'll laugh at anything I say. And it doesn't even have to make any sense.
Sugar boogers and kissy kisses. Very good, very good.
These three fellows in the tea shop that invited me to have a drink with them, it was absolutely wonderful. We hit it off. And that's phenomenal, considering that we couldn't understand a word of what each other was saying.
All right. Very good.
We continue to get presents from all these officials, and I can't help but thinking to myself, what would this guy have thought about me, say, 15 years ago back in the Cold War, when we were the bad guys?
If you drink this kind of wine, you will enjoy yourself.
带什么一对鸡呀，带什么一对鸭呀，带什么一对螃蟹，还带上一对虾呀，再带上一个大西瓜呀，哎嗨哎嗨哟，完了。
Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
We're getting to be friends with most of the film crew folks from the Beijing Film Studio. You can't really categorize the Beijing Film Studio as a documentary studio. They do the big feature movies. Normally it takes 4 or 5 people to do a documentary, but we've ended up with 20, and about half of them are drivers. It's really a teamster's paradise. Normally it would take 3 people to help me, but I have this whole ridiculous convoy following me down the road all day long. The drivers are paid more than some of the camera people. is I found out a driver is a very respected individual in a country where most people ride bicycles.
Okay! 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 Good King!
A superstar on this trip is Mr. Wong. This gentleman is fabulous. He doesn't know the first word of English, but yet he understands me, he feels for me. We have a language between us that is just absolutely wonderful. And kilometer after kilometer, I'm not talking 2 or 3 kilometers, I'm talking every kilometer. He's got the car pulled over to the side with a towel and looking after me, and when I walk, he's got his arm around me, holding me up. I absolutely love the man. He is just a beautiful person. He's there, encouraging. He feels your hurt. He has such an empathy for you, and he feels, it's like he's inside my body. He feels what I feel. That's the kind of support that keeps me going, mile after mile or kilometer after kilometer.
Ah! Golly! I love it, but it hurts good. But oh!
Then as you go back, then I can turn you, and then we come right back over. Got that?
You don't stay on a road with a group of people for 60 days without developing some very close-knit relationships. One particular person that I came to have a very close feeling for was Mrs. Schur. She started out as a camera person, but she became more of an interpreter, a pal. I could just pour my heart out to her. She became virtually everything. Just a neat lady.
Come here. I'll show you something interesting.
Well, if it's coming from you, it's got to be interesting.
Oh, have a look.
Oh, Easter eggs.
No, history. Dyed red lights. It's the present for a baby. All this for a baby boy. And the boy is 1 year old today.
Wow.
This is the boy's aunt, and this is the boy's uncle. They are bringing all these traditional presents to greet the boy.
There's something I've been seeing all these people carrying these things. Would he mind if I try to just pick it up and put it on my shoulder, his basket?
They've just been trotting along with the load that looked to me like it was absolutely nothing, but when it came down to it, I could barely lift it. And you should have seen them. They were so worried. They was afraid I was going to break their eggs.
And you just run around like this all day long.
I must have looked like a real idiot to that couple trying to pick up that big load, and it was extremely heavy. Small people doing big jobs. The revolution in China was originally the peasants' revolution in the first place.
I'm going to tell you, let me just say, you are one stout dude.
It's hard for me to imagine an average American or any American, as far as that goes, doing some of the things these people do. Their stamina and their discipline is incredible, and their optimism at the same time.
It's amazing out there in the fields, seeing a wagon, that normally a horse would pull, to see a man pulling it.
1 minute,
That's the most awesome thing I've ever seen in my life. Hard work.
你们这是劳动人民的手，他的手有劲儿的手，有劲儿，哈你的。
Soft. See, I don't have the calluses you have. See, see. You got short hair, fat.
I ran by hundreds of miles of people, all ages, little kids, you name it, hauling heavy baskets of dirt to build a road. Probably 50,000 people, maybe even more. It'd be like the whole population of a town turning out to help repair the roads. The other day we came upon a sign that we were told emphatically that we could not film. Now I don't know what the big deal was. All it said was, foreigners are not permitted beyond this point. Personally, I think that refers to almost all the rest of China outside of Beijing and a few other big cities. And that's where we're going. I'm probably the first American to see some of this country in 20 years or more.
To do this, but the countryside, it's just, you look and you forget about the running because you're so caught up with everything that's going on, and you're just saying, wow, and unreal. being out of shape finally caught up with me. One minute I was running, and suddenly there I was on my back with the Chinese thinking I was dead, and here was Mickey screaming and hollering, "Film him anyway!"
Oh, Mr. Wong. Oh.
前面可能那也起什么样的作用 function？
What?
Why is he doing this?
He's stimulating some of the acupuncture points.
Wow. Hey, I'm glad this fella's my friend. He's got hands like a vice grip.
That stimulates all of this energy inside you. I think the doctor just showed up here.
No infection, just a head cold.
他说的没有炎症。
Huh?
Injection.
Shot. Give you a shot.
I don't let him give me the injection.
The medicine is Chinese medicine made into liquid.
All of these are herbs.
Sure glad soft spots in my head have got hard.
Do you feel better?
This is unbelievable. Mickey, if something happens to me from that shot, I'm gonna haunt you. This much, just two boogers.
The Chinese medicine, yes, it's refined from Chinese medicine. And you see, no one got a sinus.
No problem with the needle.
No problem.
I mean, the needle is clean, sterile.
Yes, 这针没事吧？没事。
Oh, man, do I have to go? Who's going? Ooh, Grace, how bad's this hurt?
No, doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? Oh. Wow. Oh my gosh, Mickey. Why? I don't mind telling you, I was scared to death of getting any kind of shot from those doctors. A bunch of Chinese herbs to boot.
Relax.
I am relaxed. Ow.
Relax. Woo. A little bit later. It doesn't matter. 这个非常适合我打的电话，而且没完没了。
Oh, I hate getting shots.
Ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream. A dream. That we have you out here today running like this. And I've never believed it. But I'm going to tell you, the FDA would have flipped out if they had seen some of the things I took. But it sure worked. It was very effective because here I am out here running today. Look at all these beautiful people. All the lovely people. Oh, beautiful. Oh. Thank you. Well, when them cotton balls get rotten, whoo, you can pick very much cotton. I get a little crazy at the end of the day. It doesn't matter.
I just want to emphasize to you how he gets when he has been on the road for a while, by, especially when the pressure. That's why if you can get him off to places like this, off the hustle and bustle of the road, it'll be much better on him, much easier on him. But he gets very tense and impatient. Sometimes he'll snap out. When he's been out here about 20 days, running 8 hours a day.
I haven't seen him do that.
I know, and he's been really good, but especially the pressure they're putting on him, meeting deadlines. Normally, he lets his body dictate his deadlines, but they're not allowing. He has places to meet on this, and it's really been hard on him, and it's going to get worse. I just want you to be prepared.
Call in artillery. Tell the citizens to move. Everything is okay. It's all in order. I've checked everything out. Yeah, all right. Good, but underneath all these medals, it's a very... I just want you to see beyond the medals and see me as I really am. It's all right. I know you're probably speechless right now.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. It's all right.
You're right.
Yes.
This is Marathon, Beijing.
Yes, I won that medal in Beijing. I have won many Purple Hearts. on this trip.
Oh.
No, it's a green heart.
Okay.
And this one's for my green thumb.
I don't know.
All right, get these citizens off the road.
Almost all the Chinese children learn to read and write now. I haven't seen American kids as orderly as these elementary school kids since I was a child. We walked in with cameras, and not the first one of those children stopped reciting, and I mean all in unison. They don't go for all this creative learning business like we do. It's all straight rote memorizing. There was no smarting back at the teacher, nothing like that. It's almost like the Army. But later, if they aren't the top kids in their school, they won't get into college. And without college, they'll have to work any job the government gives them. After that, they can't quit, and they can't get fired either.
Here we go. Hey, I got one. Oh, you're supposed to get it up.
These kids are more disciplined in sports than anything I've ever seen, and aggressive to boot. It's almost scary, but their moral values are equally strong. Family values, all of those type of things. I guess this tight family tradition is what's kept China intact through revolutions and invasions and all other kinds of problems. Their tradition of sameness, repetition, continuity, well, at least it makes the family tighter, and they consider that to be far more civilized and sophisticated than this life in the fast lane that we lead. Then you see the level of technology out on the farms. I can't believe myself how primitive some of these setups are. But doggone it, U.S. agriculture started this way. These little family operations are sometimes fairly prosperous, especially now that the government allows private businesses again.
Now let me see if I understand this. First, they grind the sweet potatoes over here. They grind the sweet potatoes up, and they make some kind of a mush. Then they put it in here. It goes like that.
Yeah.
And there is some type of material from the sweet potatoes that goes into the water.
Yeah.
And that is the part that they make the noodles out of for the humans.
Yeah.
And then the stuff that is left over after they put the water in, then that's thrown over there in the pile, and that's fed to the pigs. Is that right? Yeah.
I'm from a backwoods farm family in Kentucky, and I haven't had an easy life even compared to the Chinese. My father, well, he was a pretty unusual man. He was an old Kentucky farmer, and he held to the code of the hills, and that meant you obeyed your mama and daddy no matter what. I guess you could say he used me to some extent. I had to take a lot of what some people would call abuse. Just maybe that's why I'm doing this. I can honestly say that I don't look down on the peasants. I probably understand the country folks better than some of the party officials back in Beijing do. I've run my share of dirt roads.
We certainly were far from being what you might call affluent or having money. I remember one particular year that Dad made a total of $1,900. And when you had 4 children at that particular time and a wife and responsibilities, that was tough.
I keep seeing myself in these farm people. In a way, Stan Cottrell started out exactly as the U.S. equivalent of a peasant.
the big thing that made me want to leave the farm was, I suppose, how hard Dad worked me. And he worked me like a mule. I saw my life absolutely going nowhere, except my life was just some seasonal cycle that revolved around a tobacco crop.
Oh, the sun shines bright on my whole Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the old folks are gay. The corn cobs ripe while the meadows are in bloom. And my whole Kentucky home far away. Weep no more, my lady, oh, weep no more today. For we'll sing one song for my whole Kentucky home, and my whole Kentucky home far away. Ta-da!
As far as I'm concerned, the country people are much better off than the city people. They can take their time. They aren't stuck in some factory with horrible conditions. And they probably eat better, too. In a bizarre way, I think the peasants really understand the idea of a marathon run. A run is total concentration on one thing. It takes the same intense concentration over the long haul that you see reflected in the Chinese, in their art, paintings, buildings. You see it, even in the daily work of the peasants. They even keep their dirt swept clean. Slow but steady wins the race, and they understand what I'm doing. Total concentration on one thing. Loneliness is something every long-distance runner feels. It starts to creep in a little at a time, in funny ways, especially those long stretches of country road. All I can think about is the next town, and I'm hoping there'll be a big crowd. That stops the loneliness and also takes my mind off of my back pain.
All of my life, I've been just hearing negative voices, people telling me I can never accomplish anything, as far back as I could remember. And even to this day, some 20-some years later, when someone tells me that I'm not capable of accomplishing something, just something in me that goes back to that little small child in me, well, I'll prove you wrong.
I ran across the wildest sight. There was this cattle auction going on right out in the middle of nowhere, and those old dudes were doing some lively, and I do mean lively, bidding.
$425. Okay, look, boys. You're stuck on $385. You want $425, Quai? Come on, settle for $400 and call it quits.
No way, comrade.
Hey, give us some slack. We only have $385.
What a joke.
It smells like a Tibetan latrine. It'd be a stupid egg to buy this piece. We aren't getting anywhere. Look, $400, and it's a deal for both of you.
$425 or no
deal.
deal.
Look out. Get out of the way.
If you don't want it, I got plenty of other customers. That's a price. This bull is worth far more than $425 as it is. Just look at this fine specimen. He's magnificent.
And it's impotent. You can tell. Just look at its teeth.
I won't stand for this kind of slander.
Let me make up my own mind. You're being paranoid.
Or kill me, okay?
There are some people that would say the reason that runners run is to escape from something. Well, I guess I'm doing that to some extent. There's no doubt about it. But it's also to reach out towards something new. It isn't something that you can hold up in front of a film camera and show everybody. It's something no one else can see. It's an experience that you're seeking. You can ask any runner, I don't care who he is, and he's got his own dog story. Dogs may be man's best friend, but they don't like mailmen, they don't like runners one little bitty tiny nary bit.
Wait a second, why are you doing this? We had a whole scene going.
Our director, Mickey, is having trouble with the Chinese film crew. They seem to have a mindset, or they're locked into doing this sort of cutesy travel film with propaganda overtones. I keep praying
that my friends back home can raise the rest of the money on time. This entire project could be shut down in a second if we don't come up with more money for China sports in the Beijing film studio. If we don't, I lose everything I have, period.
What's wrong?
For some reason, my back is tearing me up. Not only that, but I've detected blood in my urine a couple of times. It could be serious, but if I don't make it through this run, it's going to be trouble. My friends who put money into this thing, I'd be letting down my supporters, and there's a lot riding on this run back home.
It's no fun while you're working through it.
It seems like every day we run into a whole new set of problems. Mickey spent a whole day trying to find some batteries. It took me all night to get a phone call through to the U.S. when we finally found a phone. In China, you just can't reach out and touch someone. My weight's at a critical level right now. I'm 130, and when I hit 127, I'm afraid I'm just going to have to stop a run. And it's hurting. I really wish my doctor was with me right now. Each time my heel strikes the ground, there's 600 pounds of pressure that's just clobbering my knees, my ankles, and my back. It's getting harder and harder to find that right mental balance to continue. I've run out of vitamins. Some of the essential vitamins that I need. Found those a few days ago. And that's having an effect upon me. Of course, I'm hurting. My legs have hurt. Sometimes just hobbling down the road, my muscles are cramping up. I can't get any good night's sleep. These little problems stack up until you've lost perspective, and they turn into great hardships.
Dad, blame it! I've had enough of this!
It's tough to admit that you've got a problem, but my temper flare-ups are just getting worse and worse. The least little thing happens, and I want to blame everybody. I want to hit somebody. I just want to scream. I want to break their heads in.
Oh, Grace, shut up and leave me alone. Just get out of my way.
I know the Chinese are trying to be courteous to me, perhaps. There's no doubt in my mind, but I don't want anybody grabbing hold of my arm and saying, no, you go sit here. And you will sit down, and in 4 minutes, you will take a shower. Now, you sit down. And I just like to get out and stroll somewhere in the evening after I just get through, just something to break the monotony, the regimentation.
An example of Stan's temper. In Hunan province, we didn't have good drinking water for 2 days. The only thing we could get was a little bitter. Stan got very angry over that. He just wouldn't drink it. We tried our best to find water, but he ended up throwing away bottle after bottle because he couldn't drink it. We really felt sorry for him. He'd lose his temper and start yelling, "Water! Water!" I'd have to get him some water immediately or else. When he's tired, I have to be very careful. Like when he gets lost and can't find the camera truck or the big van, he starts yelling again. Wah! 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 I don't understand him. When he's happy, he calls everybody old friend. Old friend Stan, old friend Mickey, old friend Lao Wang, old friend. Pretty good.
About 5 more kilometers up, then we'll stop and see what happens.
That knee took a pretty hard lick there with that. When he opened that door, it just came right across the kneecap. It just took a hard lick, and it's just throbbing like I don't know what right now.
The loneliness is really getting to me again. Small things start to show you that you're really cut off from everybody else. Even in crowds, I'm the only one running. And they can wave to me or whatever, but they can't do my running for me. I have to do that, and only me. I can't say to anyone, hey, I'm so tired. Can you operate my leg muscles for a minute while I rest? We're now halfway through the run, but sometimes I don't feel much sense of progress. It seems hopeless sometimes. The hills or the towns are always getting closer, but the horizon always stays just as far away. Distance doesn't mean anything, because no matter what, there's always a few more miles to go. And I'm alone because these Chinese people have already gotten where they're going. You see, I'm the one who ain't there yet.
I woke up this morning, as I have in the last few mornings, with just mixed emotions. I'm glad to be here in China, but on the other hand, I keep feeling like nobody even gives a big flip that I'm even here. I think the crowds are coming out to see the vehicles more than they are me.
Grace, everything in the world's gone wrong today. I mean, my running was all wrong. And the road that we was on, the road was so narrow, there wasn't even a path to run on. I mean, normally I've got that much space. Today I didn't even have any cotton picking space. It's been a stupid day. But I'm glad I'm with Mr. Wong and you tonight, and good food. Gambay. Yeah, to good friends. To tomorrow, which we will say tomorrow will be a better day. Crap. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Send him off to my brothers, whatever. I mean, you've got to do something. But you tell him when I get home, you just tell him that he's going to be in for a crude awakening. I mean, a crude awakening when I get home. Okay, is there anything on the investors?
I finally got a phone call through to my wife and family, and only to find out that my son was in trouble with the law. My wife doesn't have any money. There hasn't been any progress at all with investors, so I don't know if pretty soon the Chinese aren't going to be saying, look, you haven't paid, you can't finish.
And listen, this stand deal is breaking my heart. It is breaking. You just tell him he is breaking my heart. Okay, I'll call you Monday. It'll be Monday morning your time. Okay, sweetheart. And get on the phone with Tyler. Bye-bye, sweetheart. I'll talk to you later. Bye, dear. Bye-bye. Cannot believe it. At this point, I have serious doubts about being able to finish the run. Just for once, just turn the stupid cameras off. Just for, I don't want, can anybody just have a stupid little bit of privacy with that?
What's wrong with you?
Oh, shut up, Nicky.
You know the problems. You know the problems.
I continue to keep asking myself, why? Why am I doing this? I thought I was going to test the limits of my endurance, and I think I've about reached the limits. It's getting to be a constant self-questioning process. Am I really doing this for all the high-sounding reasons I'm telling people, or is it just to glorify myself? What kind of an idiot would think that running across China would shorten the distance between us and them? Why am I torturing myself? Why did I go leave my family for months and go into debt? To show off? Well, I thought this was going to earn me my fortune. And so at times you'll see me, gah! You know, a wild man doing all kind of crazy things. That's because of, I got my dad inside me, and he was absolutely a wild man. I mean, he did all kind of crazy things.
Yeah.
But Dad wanted me to grow up and be big and tall. He had all these dogs, and every month he gave the dogs worm medicine. And so Dad thought I had worms, and that was making me small. And so every month he gave me worm medicine. He'd poke these pills down me. He gave me enough worm medicine to float a battleship. Yeah. Would you like to take worm medicine?
No.
Well, I had to take much worm medicine. Yeah. All kind of crazy things. I just got off the road with Grace mainly just to talk about China, but seeing that farm just somehow reminded me of home. I can't explain it. I must have had a lot of emotions pent up because, well, it just all came out. People always told me I would never amount to anything. My dad made me feel like that I would never amount to anything. He loved me in a very hard way. He couldn't tell me that he loved me. And all I wanted to do was prove to my dad that I was adequate. I wanted to gain my dad's acceptance. I wanted his love more than anything in the world. And it seemed like the harder I tried, that he would never, he couldn't show me back.
in ways that he loved me. But even being here, my dad's been dead. My dad has been dead for 5 years. And I'm still trying to prove to him. I'm still trying to prove to him. People always assume that running in the mountains has got to be the toughest. But for me, it's the easiest. I get more energy from those mountain roads. There's more surprises. There's a more obvious sense of accomplishment. You can see what you're accomplishing. The road is more alive in the mountains, and it makes the runner feel more alive. I feel like this moment is what it's all for. Running becomes like dreaming. The past opens up to me. I'm off in my own world, reliving moments with my dad. I feel like now I'm reliving them in a new way, in a new perspective. I love running beside the streams and the rivers and the brooks and waterfalls. There's such power in it. It's so majestic, and I get so caught up in the water that I totally forget about myself, and I'm gliding along with it. And I'm just floating, I'm free, I'm lightweight. And I'm able just to go on and on and on. And another thing that motivates me is many times here in China, I've been able to run beside the old, what we called as a kid, the choo-choo trains, the old locomotive trains. And sometimes my legs just feel like putty. And just seeing those wheels just chick. And I just feel like my legs are just being propelled the same way. And it just keeps me going and keeps me going. So there are all kinds of things that I can draw energy from besides just the food that I put into my mouth or the vitamins.
There is a church in Changsha. And there are some Christians in Changsha. We, in Changsha, citizens enjoy the freedom to believe in the religion.
What he was saying about freedom of religion in his province was possibly a little bit of propaganda, because the freedom is primarily in state churches or temples. Buddhist, Muslim, Christians, you name it. The only religion they enthusiastically tolerate is Marxism. We hear a lot about
the Cultural Revolution. What happened to your ministry during that particular time of Chinese history?
Oh, during that time, we ministers worked in a factory. In a factory. You see, not only ministers, but the high officials of the government, and even Chairman Liu Shaoqi, they had to leave their work and work in a factory or in some farm.
Or in the countryside.
Or in the country.
Did your church close down during that time?
Sure. Not a single church existed at that time. All churches were closed. But after the Cultural Revolution, churches gradually opened up.
Myself, I thought, I was very scared to even bring my Bible with me. I thought maybe who knows, maybe the police would have got me and maybe I would have been put in jail for 20 years for having my Bible with me. A lot of Americans think that.
That's just a misunderstanding. So you come back and go back to States, you just tell them the truth about the real condition of Christianity in China now.
I didn't really know anything about this country. After nearly 2 months, I'm finally starting to get a good idea of the real China, the people's China.
People use words to describe China like exotic and forbidden, and for 20 years it was forbidden, and no matter what they tell you, a lot of it still is. You can't go in or out of a lot of places without permission. In fact, it's easier for a foreigner to travel around than for a Chinese. And the Chinese can't leave, period. That's all there is to it, unless they have a real good reason that's been reviewed by a long line of bureaucrats. We've been here long enough to see how the things are for the regular folks in the street, and it just ain't as nice and orderly as they'd have you believe. I ran by all those gobs of cotton, just endless bags of cotton, and people just sitting there waiting for something. We stopped to see if we could figure out what was going on. It turned out all these farmers were literally just waiting to sell their cotton for a decent price. But there was a huge surplus, and all these corrupt local officials were just taking advantage of the situation.
The Department of Concern issues 300 tickets for cotton farmers. There will only be 150 when they come to the county after the crooked officials take theirs. By the time they get to the commune, there will only be 100. Finally, for each village, we only have 50 tickets left.
It's a bunch of shady backdoor dealing. It kills us to turn in all this cotton for nothing. It's because personal influence is abused. They shouldn't lower the price. It should be based on the quality of the cotton. They aren't paying us anywhere near what the cotton is worth. When they see you have a surplus, they lower the price by saying the cotton is low quality. We end up with no choice. We're forced to turn it in.
That's the way they work, damn it. Only if you have personal influence with some party guy. If you don't have connections, you're screwed. Damn it, it's a waste of time. That's right. This poor old man here can't turn in his cotton today. He was practically first in line, and he's been here all day long. When they opened the gate, all the younger men who have more strength shoved their way in ahead of him. Now he's got to haul his cart all the way back home for nothing. These provincial official crooks. What the hell can you do about it, eh? If you have connections, the county government doesn't care if you have 3 pounds of cotton or 300. You'll get special treatment if you know the right people, and everyone else is ripped off.
Man, I have never seen this much cotton in all my life.
You don't go anywhere without somebody from the government keeping tabs on you. They have special places set up for foreign film crews to shoot. The perfect commune, the perfect peasant's house they want you to film, and so forth. The rich peasant's house was the most interesting. We asked whether the neighbors were jealous over their good fortune, and apparently his wife spoke up a little more honestly than she was supposed to, because he was quick to correct her according to party line.
People around us are quite envious and jealous of our big house and appliances. People gossip about us, and some have even tried to restrict our freedom and wreck our business. But we are not afraid of them. We'll just keep working and having good fortune. After we got rich, lots of people in the village resented it. Even people in the commune were jealous.
How can you say things like that? We have always earned everything through hard work and know-how. Besides, after the new open-door policies were adopted by the government, the chaos of the past won't return to terrorize us. We can all lead a better life now.
The people my age who went through the Cultural Revolution are very different from the younger Chinese. You've heard the horror stories about the Depression in the 30s or the Holocaust in Germany. Well, that's a lot like the stories you hear about what happened in China. They don't want to talk about that much. You still have to be careful what you say. The commune system that Americans used to hear about has mostly been dismantled, but the regimentation shows in everything, like those speakers that come on every morning. They drive you crazy. It's 6:30 a.m. sharp all over this whole country. They start spewing news and political stuff over these giant loudspeakers. You just can't get away from it. If I were a tourist here, I'd never catch on to the control. You only see how the politics worked when you've really gotten to know somebody and they feel they can open up and trust you. The younger people are pretty cynical about the political scene in China now. But you know, it seems like they can always come up with clever ways to get around the regimentation. Sometimes on the road, I can feel China's power. Like there's enough human resource around you to change the world. And I can't help but wonder what it would take to do that. Being here makes America seem small compared to China and the rest of the world. It isn't just a place or a culture, it's a whole philosophy, a whole different approach to life. This young man, Xiao Li, was our translator for a while. He and I had a lot of great talks about politics and the changing philosophies in China. You have a girlfriend?
Of course.
You have more than one?
No.
In America, many men, sometimes they have more than one girlfriend. I never see people holding hands in China. Do you hold your girlfriend's hand?
Yeah.
In public?
Yeah, in public.
Yeah, I never see people. Since I've been here, I've never seen anyone holding hands. Is that a no-no?
Yeah. During your next stop, I mean in Changsha, the capital of Hunan province, if you watch carefully, I'm sure you will see a lot.
I see.
I think this bridge was constructed during the Cultural Revolution. And at that time, people, they loved Chairman Mao very much. And they all want to inscribe quotations on the bridge to show their love. Yeah. For instance, this quotation says, "We must fight against individualism and criticize revisionism."
Fight against individualism
and criticize revisionism.
Do you think that today, is that philosophy still true? Fight individualism in China?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. How is it different? How is it different now than it was during the Cultural Revolution or during Mao's time?
For instance, individualism during Mao's time, or I'd rather say during the Cultural Revolution, individualism was fought against because we all wanted to get rich together, make success together.
Right.
But now we are going to, you see, make rich all, by ourselves.
Right.
We allow a single people or two or three get rich first, and to some extent, individualism is encouraged.
Well, good. Let's take a look at one more. You hear about the poverty and the overpopulation in China. The other day I was dying of thirst, and this peasant woman was kind enough to offer me a drink. Oh, she boiled it first and all the things that go along with that, but I still couldn't drink it. Not even to be polite, not even for the film, not even as thirsty as I was. Couldn't swallow the stuff. It was really foul, and I had to kind of secretly spit it out. It was just too raunchy. Okay, you're very kind. Thank you. Oh.
Having to leave new friends at each border crossing is tough.
It's like in The Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man or whatever it is.
People that you've been through hell with, knowing that you'll probably never see them again.
Tell him my heart is breaking.
What I'm
getting ready to say is rather difficult for me. I call it one of those hush-hush type areas. And it deals with the friendships that I've made here in China. I have real mixed emotions because as genuine as I feel the friendship that is being offered to me, as warm as I feel about that, I also sense another side of the friendships, that the friendships is based upon the way the political winds are blowing. If the winds are blowing cold, then the Chinese will be cold towards you. If it's blowing warm and the political winds are warm, then you're going to get that kind of reception. Things have changed a lot in China. 5 years ago, people could literally be arrested for talking to a foreigner. Today, it's very much more open. There's more freedom than ever before, but I still get the feeling that there's that political emphasis. I've even had Chinese to say, you're not a capitalist, and we don't see you that way. We see you genuine about your friendship.
Friendship between cultures is an easy thing to say. Much easier said than done. Everyone acts just as nice as can be, but some of these people I know are more prejudiced against foreigners than anybody in the world. It's a weird feeling for an American white man to be on the receiving end of race prejudice. There's still a certain prejudice against Westerners, probably for a good reason. From their point of view, I guess if a quarter of the world consists of your fellow countrymen, you don't feel like you need comments from the peanut gallery. I ran through one area one particular day, and I'll never forget this. Literally thousands of people had come out to wait to see the Megwa Ren run through. They had been waiting for as much as 8 hours. And you know, a person could get a little bit puffed up over that until I found out the real reason. Legend had it that the foreigner had mated with dogs and that we were half dog and half human. And these people had literally come out to see what a half dog and a half human looked like. The word for China, Zhengguo, the Zheng means center, actually center of the universe. We Americans have felt like the center of the universe for a little over 200 years. Now think about that in terms of being the center of the universe for over 4,000 years.
Tell her this is Christmas, the 4th of July, and Thanksgiving, and my birthday, all wrapped up into one.
On Thanksgiving, my spirits soared when I received a telex from Vice President George Bush. Then Mickey and I got this big package from home, and oh my goodness, I was so happy. I never celebrated anything so much in my life. Little rewards that don't mean anything back home become just a tremendous pleasure.
Oh, you danced divinely, my dear.
I very miss you.
I missed you too. How is everybody in Beijing?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
In doing something like this, seeing how much the Chinese have transformed their own suffering, well, we stopped taking things for granted.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
For years, the horizon was something I've been trying to conquer. I've run across 15 countries, but it wasn't until China that I realized how stupid it is to try to beat the horizon. Now, I'm glad that horizon is far away. In fact, the farther the better. If it was close, if I could reach it, the world would suddenly seem like a little small cage to me. And now I thank God for that horizon because it reminds me of how free I am. And China taught me how free I am in other ways too.
I
think this American runner's a fool, a real stupid egg if you ask me. He's already run 3,000 kilometers and he is actually killing himself physically. What will happen to him if he gets hurt or sick or if he gets run down by a car on the way? There's not one person in China who would help him. The whole thing is crazy.
Yes, he's a big fool. It really doesn't matter if he runs or not. Who cares?
No, I disagree. I think he's a man of iron will. I'd like to grow up like him, to become a great scientist or athlete, and bring honor to my own country.
Here it was, The day that I'd been looking forward to for so long. The last day. And I was running through Guangzhou maybe an hour from the end of this 2,000-mile plus run. And it was a new high that I was experiencing. Not this triumphant type that you read about in the runner's magazine, but a new peaceful kind. In fact, the lack of crowds didn't bother me at all. For some reason, the news hadn't gotten around town, and normally I would have been terribly let down by finishing the race with only a few hundred people seeing it instead of thousands. But now it didn't matter. It was my dad, my family, my friends, and my new Chinese friends. That's what counted. It's not even the completion of the race that counts. The accomplishments are nothing. That's just what other people see. What counts is the performance, the doing. I thought the run would somehow bring me to some magic place, some great understanding, but what I finally realized was that the run itself was the magic place, the great understanding. Fulfill your fantasy. And first of all, is your fantasy, is it noble? Is it honorable? Is it going to help mankind? And I feel like that if those goals are there, then everything is going to fall in place. It's important. It's worthwhile. Pursue your fantasy. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm trying to encourage other people. Don't be afraid to step out and follow a dream that's in your heart. At least try. It wasn't the run itself that my 4 years of preparation led to. What those years were leading to was a new beginning of a much bigger achievement for me than running across China, an achievement of self-realization that took me out of myself and more into the hearts of other people. I could see the hotel, the end of the run up ahead, and it wasn't just the end of a run, it was the sense of a whole new frontier. I felt like two totally different cultures, two different political worlds had somehow come together just long enough for me to gain a new wholeness inside myself. And that inner wholeness is what let me see what was outside of myself more clearly. China. You see the world in a different way afterwards. China was something that I learned. The optimism and the faith of these Chinese people probably taught me more through simplicity than I could learn in a lifetime of business deals and books. It brought my own faith out, pulled it to the surface, and gave it meaning.